Hi and welcome to the 64 Doors. Today we're going to open door 42. We call this archetype the nomad, and its genius is non-attachment. This archetype knows how to travel through life without being attached to any specific outcome. It can even accept death because it embraces evolution as eternal cycles of beginnings and endings. Today we're going to look at this archetype energy from a human design perspective and a Gene Key perspective. So let's see. Right now we have the Sun in Aries in gate 42 and the Earth in Libra in gate 32, and the design part of the cross is 61 and 62. In human design, we call this the right angle cross of Maya, and the keywords are growth, continuity, mystery, and detail. It says, this is the cross that is driven by closure. It is important for you to pursue what you're passionate about with a scope that is achievable regardless of the challenges you may face. Your drive to find closure is only accomplished when you take into account the environment and all that makes up your reality. Understanding fully how your environment works is really the key to being at peace with this cross. When we look at it again in the body graph, we see that the 42 comes out of the sacral center that has to do with vital energy and life force, and it meets the 53 in the root center. So this is format energy. And in the circuitry book, we can see that this is the channel of maturation, a design of balanced development. So here again, we have the cycles that we were speaking about before, the beginnings and the endings. And the quick reference theme is, every time you begin something new, be very cautious. Once you've committed yourself to an endeavor, you have a genetic imperative to complete. If you do not follow it to its natural conclusion, you will only meet the same problem again later in another form. So here you can think of times maybe when you felt frustrated in a project and you cut it off before actually letting it come to its natural conclusion. This can happen in projects, it can happen in relationship, and it's asked us to actually feel into natural cycles, because when we cut them off and we haven't got the whole process and we haven't learned what we're here to learn from each process, it's very likely that we will have to do the same thing over again, and that can lead to frustration and bitterness and disappointment. So to really feel into the natural cycles of things and let them arrive and come to their natural conclusion. We can also look at the keywords for the 42. Let's see. So keywords are life and death, endings, cycles, Maya, and closure. The internal motivator, completion, and just like I say, this is a traveler, it's a nomad. So it has to do with the journey in itself, and to not have expectations on that journey, but like enjoying and celebrating life. And then we have the positive attributes, wisdom, understanding of cycles, and acceptance. The Achilles heel can be to be uncomfortable with the difficulty in the beginning of new projects. So knowing that the 42 is connected to the 53, but in itself, it doesn't have that spark, that energy to begin. It has the energy to conclude, and it needs the 53 to actually have that spark to begin new things. And that's also why there can be a frustration of not being able to begin something new. So if you have the 42 and not the 53, that's what you can feel. And in the gene keys, you can also look at the shadow patterns of this energy, so the victim of expectations, and there's going to be a repressive nature, which is grasping, and a reactive nature, which is flaky. And I would say if you have this key or this archetype in a prominent position in your hologenetic profile, I would really go to the web copy and look at, what does it mean? How does it show up to be grasping? How does it show up to be flaky? And then really be aware in your life when you go into those patterns. Like, especially this is going to happen when you feel contracted, when you feel tense, when you're making decisions out of fear. Those things are probably going to come up. So to be aware of them is a really good start. I also want us to go and understand the difference, the different frequencies of this gene key. And so it starts with expectation, and it's the waiting at the expectation stations. It's really living your whole life basically from that perspective of expecting something, and then often being disappointed that life is never going to show up as you expected it. And the higher frequency is detachment, the reader and the writer. So that's basically being the nomad, being the traveler who is taking, traveling one step at a time and experiencing life in the same moment as those steps happens. And even when it stops in one location, is like enjoying that, celebrating that, and then continuing. So the punchline is the celebration. And you can also see what I was speaking about with the programming partner. So the programming partner is what is on the other side of the Rave mandala, the one that we were looking at in the beginning. It's all made up, mathematically made up. So you have all the hexagrams around the wheel of the astrology, and then the 42 and the 32 are on opposite sides of the wheel, and they are mirror opposites if we look at how the hexagram is made up. Everywhere where there's a full line here is going to be an open line on this side. So here we have expectation and failure go hand in hand. And then we have detachment and knowing where to put your energy go hand in hand. So not putting your energy in a certain expectations, but actually see where is it worth to put my energy? What plants do I want to water in my life? And where can I see that there is weed and it actually maybe needs to be pulled out instead of nurtured? And the key word, or the key sentence here is letting go of living and dying. So that acceptance of the beginnings and the endings. We can see that we're still in an Aries energy. So it's still about the warrior energy somehow, but it's more kind of the adventure here, we could say. It's more about the independence of traveling, of being the nomad, of not really having an agenda. If we go into the I Ching, we see that it's wind over thunder. Storms bring destruction and nourishment, life and death serving the highest growth. So powerful I Ching. Integral human design, we call it, instead of the channel of maturation, we call it the channel of evolution, what I was saying in the introduction, and attachment, evolution, eternity. In the dream arc, I like the parrot. It's kind of this thing that, if you kind of think of it in the first way it comes up, it's like this repeating thing, but in a higher frequency, it's like, it's really an amazing animal. How can a bird, speak human language? How can it repeat human language? I feel like that's so magic. It's completely not what you're expecting from it, right? I would like to invite you this week to look at your life and discern if there is any area where you can see that things are coming to a natural conclusion, and see if there's any part of you that is grasping or attaching yourself to maybe trying to milk something more out of the situation, or have maybe fear of letting go, and see if you can allow the energy to come to its conclusion, because you know that there are no more flowers, for example, they're going to grow on that tree. I also feel like the energy of celebration in this gene key, this archetype, has a lot to do with the third line pearl. The third line pearl is also named celebration. And it's really about the third line energy that says life can be a comedy, life can be a tragedy, but the most important thing is to just live it all, to just embrace it all, accept it all. It doesn't matter if you're crying, if you're laughing, it's all part of life. So the 42 energy, the nomad, really invites us to be that nomad, to walk through life and to embrace everything that comes to us and not judge it as failure or as success, but really just living it out fully and being that nomad that just let life, live you. So I would love to hear how it goes for you and what this archetype is bringing into your life. Thank you.